we would ask that the Honorable Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I believe is still here, of course, he is, Your Honor, I think we all know, an icon in the civil rights movement. He, not just a witness to it, he the personification of it. And in other circumstances, I think everybody would be happy to have their picture taken, maybe get an autograph. But in the context of this trial, we object to his presence in the public gallery inside the courtroom. We note that there is a jury assembly room capable of holding, depending on how we socially distance, several hundred people, where these proceedings are being televised live in real time. The issue that Ray brought up previously is, how many pastors does the Arbery family have? We had the Reverend Al Sharpton here earlier, last week, and I'm not keeping track, and I think the court has indicated the court doesn't intend to ask anyone to keep track of who was in the gallery. But I don't know who Mr. Jackson, Reverend Jackson, is pastoring here. We are concerned about whether it's conscious or unconscious, the impact of their presence with respect to the jury and with respect to the proceedings in this case. With all due respect, Your Honor, the seats in the public gallery of a courtroom are not like courtside seats at a Lakers game. There are no First Amendment rights in the public gallery of a courtroom. There is no standing of any particular individual to be present in the public gallery of a courtroom. And there is no reason for these prominent icons in the civil rights movement to be here.
Mr. Gough, at this point, I'm not exactly sure what you're doing. I have already ruled on this court's position with regard to the gallery. And with all candor, I was not even aware that Reverend Jackson was in the courtroom until you started your motion. As to the totality of the circumstances argument, which I think is the second argument that was presented by Mr. Gough, that gets back to what I'm starting to watch very carefully as far as what's going on in this courtroom with the jury, as well as the arguments that are being made by counsel. I'll point out that a number of times during jury selection it was raised that jurors were being influenced by individuals outside the court, and I think it was either 4 or 5 jurors were asked specifically whether or not they were influenced in some way by what was going on outside the courtroom. And they were not. There was no, actually, if I remember correctly, they didn't even recognize or see what was going on outside the courtroom. And as counsel are aware, because I have briefed counsel, there are steps being taken by the court during the jury trial to ensure that jurors are not influenced by anything happening around the courthouse. So then we start getting into what we have now with individual members or individuals coming into the courtroom. I will say that is directly in response, Mr. Gough, to statements you made, which I find reprehensible. The Colonel Sanders statement you made last week, I would suggest may be something that has influenced what is going on here. In response to that, and to his credit, Mr. Sheffield made some comments, but did say, you know, come one, come all. And so now the court is faced with balancing a lot of things going on outside this courtroom and doing it in a way that respects members of the public's right to be in the courtroom, as well as what I'm trying to put out there is a fair trial, right? So you need to understand, everybody, that your words in this courtroom have an impact on a lot of what's going on. And so my measured response at this point is to balance all of that out and try to move forward with the trial. I'm not granting a mistrial at this point based on these arguments that are being made, because I think, well, I'm not granting a mistrial at this point based on the arguments that have been made.